The vast emptiness of space lit up with strange energy signatures as the wormhole opened. Earth's first and only diplomatic vessel, the EN's Pioneer, emerged into the designated meeting point, a neutral star system chosen by the Valkyrie Confederacy. Commander James Reed stood on the bridge, his weathered face betraying no emotion despite the nervous energy coursing through him. This was humanity's first official contact with an advanced alien civilization. The fate of Earth might depend on what happened in the next few hours. "All systems normal, Commander," reported Officer Wilson from the control panel. "The Valkyrie vessel is approaching our position." Through the view screen, Reed watched as the alien ship came into view. It dwarfed the Pioneer, its sleek hull gleaming with strange metallic patterns that seemed to shift and move in the starlight. "Impressive," whispered Science Officer Nia Thomas beside him. Her dark eyes were wide with wonder and scientific curiosity. "Their propulsion system doesn't match anything in our theoretical models." Reed nodded. "Let's hope they're as interested in peaceful exchange as we are." The communication system crackled to life. "This is the Valkyrie diplomatic vessel Dominant Truth. Prepare to receive our representatives." Within minutes, the human delegation stood ready in the docking bay. Reed and Thomas were joined by diplomat Alan Fuller, who clutched his digital translation pad with white knuckles. The airlock doors slid open with a hiss. The first sight of the Valkyrie made several crew members step back involuntarily. The aliens stood over 7 feet tall with powerful, muscular bodies covered in scaled armor-like skin. Their eyes were large and predatory, set in faces that reminded Reed of Earth's ancient reptiles, though far more intelligent and expressive. The lead Valkyrie, wearing ornate body armor that clearly marked him as important, looked down at the humans with what could only be described as amused disdain. "I am High Commander Krell of the Valkyrie Confederacy." The translator converted his deep, rumbling speech. "We have come to assess your species' potential place within our galactic order." Fuller stepped forward with a diplomatic smile. "We bring greetings from Earth and all humanity. We hope this meeting marks the beginning of peaceful cooperation between our peoples." Krell made a sound that the humans would later learn was laughter. He circled around Fuller, examining him like a curious specimen. "Fragile," Krell remarked to his companions. "Look at their soft skin. No natural armor or apparent strength. And so small." Reed stiffened but maintained his composure. "We may surprise you, Commander Krell. Humanity has overcome many challenges to reach the stars." The meeting moved to the ship's conference room, where the humans presented information about Earth and human achievements. With each slide and explanation, the Valkyrie exchanged glances and made comments in their own language that the translator sometimes struggled to interpret. When Nia Thomas explained human biological adaptations, our endurance, problem-solving abilities, and social cooperation, Krell cut her off with a dismissive gesture. "Your species lacks even basic evolutionary advantages," he stated flatly. "No appreciable strength, no natural weapons, no biological defenses. Your technology is primitive by Confederacy standards. Your single vessel here would not last 10 seconds against even our smallest patrol ship." Fuller attempted to redirect the conversation. "We believe different species bring different strengths to." "Your species appears to bring nothing of value," interrupted another Valkyrie official. "Perhaps you might serve as basic labor for more advanced races." Reed felt his jaw tighten but said nothing. This was not going as hoped. By the meeting's end, the Valkyrie's position was clear. They viewed humans as a curious but ultimately inferior species, barely worth the Confederacy's attention except as a potential resource to exploit. As the alien delegation departed, Krell turned to Reed. "We will forward our assessment to the Confederacy Council. You may continue existing independently for now, but understand your place in the cosmic hierarchy." The Pioneer's journey back to Earth was somber. In his private quarters, Reed reviewed the meeting recordings with Thomas. "They see us as weak," Thomas said quietly. "They judged us entirely on physical strength and current technology." Reed's expression hardened as he stared at the frozen image of Krell's contemptuous face. "Then they've made their first mistake," he replied. "Throughout our history, nothing has made humans more dangerous than being underestimated." 6 months after the first meeting, Earth's orbital monitoring stations detected an anomaly at the edge of the solar system. Within hours, a massive Valkyrie battlecruiser cut through space toward Earth, its engines leaving a trail of blue energy that scientists couldn't explain. Global defense systems went on high alert. Military leaders gathered in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber in New York. The atmosphere was tense as they watched the alien vessel position itself in low Earth orbit, its enormous shadow passing over major cities as it circled the planet. "They've sent one ship," General Garcia noted. "Either a show of confidence or a test." Before anyone could respond, all communication systems worldwide received the same transmission. Screens in the council chamber flickered, and Admiral Drek of the Valkyrie Confederacy appeared. Unlike Krell from the first meeting, Drek wore battle armor covered with marks that looked suspiciously like trophies from previous conquests. "People of Earth," he began, his translated voice cold and mechanical. "The Confederacy Council has reviewed your status and reached a decision. Your world possesses valuable resources, but your species lacks the strength or advancement to be considered equals." President Martin rose from her seat. "Admiral Drek, we wish to continue peaceful discussions." "There is nothing to discuss," Drek interrupted. "You will accept protected status under Valkyrie rule. We will establish resource collection stations on your planet and moons. You will provide a yearly quota of minerals and biological materials. In exchange, we will allow your continued existence and provide limited technological assistance." The chamber erupted in protests and arguments. On the screen, Drek seemed almost amused by the reaction. "To demonstrate our seriousness," he continued, "observe." The video feed split to show the International Space Station peacefully orbiting Earth. Without warning, a beam of energy shot from the Valkyrie ship. The station exploded in a brilliant flash, debris scattering into the blackness of space. Gasps and cries filled the council chamber. "You have 72 Earth hours to formally accept our terms," Drek concluded. "Any resistance will be met with similar demonstrations on ground targets." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the world leaders staring at each other in stunned silence. Hours later, in an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, a different meeting took place. Director Marcus Wells of Earth Defense stood before a small group of military and scientific leaders, President Martin among them. "Madam President, members of the Security Council," Wells began, "what I'm about to share has been classified at the highest level for over 2 decades. He activated a holographic display showing what appeared to be technology unlike anything publicly known to exist on Earth. In 2072, a research team on Mars discovered the remains of an ancient outpost. Not Valkyrie, something else, something older. We've been reverse engineering the technology ever since." The president leaned forward. "Are you saying we have weapons that can fight the Valkyrie?" "Not yet," Wells admitted. "But we're close. The discovery accelerated our technological development by at least a century. After first contact 6 months ago, we shifted all resources to military applications." Commander Reed, who had been silently observing from the back of the room, stepped forward. "The Valkyrie judged us by what they saw, our official technology, our physical attributes. They have no idea what we've been developing in secret." Wells nodded and brought up new schematics. "We have shipyards hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Prototype vessels with hybrid human-alien technology. Weapons systems that could potentially match Valkyrie capabilities. But we need time." President Martin studied the information before her. "How much time?" 6 months minimum," Wells replied. "A year would be better." The president turned to her advisors. "Options." Admiral Chen, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, spoke up. "We appear to comply. Make a show of accepting their terms while secretly preparing for resistance. They'll establish a presence here," Reed warned. "Monitoring stations, resource collection teams. Then we work around them, Wells said. Most of our development is happening off-world anyway. President Martin was quiet for a long moment. The weight of Earth's future pressed down on her shoulders. Finally, she looked up, her expression resolute. We'll call for a global vote, but I already know the outcome. No human civilization has ever accepted slavery without resistance. We won't be the first. She turned to Wells. You have your time, Director. Make every day count. As the meeting dispersed, Reed found himself standing next to Science Officer Thomas, who had been analyzing Valkyrie technology. They think physical strength is everything, Thomas said quietly. They have no idea that human history was never written by the strongest species, but by the most adaptable one. Reed nodded, his eyes on the schematics of Earth's secret fleet. And they're about to learn that lesson the hard way. Deep within the asteroid belt, hidden among the rocks and dust, humans worked in silence. The massive shipyard spread across several linked asteroids, its existence concealed by signal jammers and holographic cloaking technology. Similar facilities operated beyond the dark side of the moon and inside hollowed-out sections of Mars' smaller moon Deimos. Commander Reed floated through the central assembly area, watching as the hull of the warship Defiance took shape. Workers in spacesuits moved with practiced efficiency, their welding tools connecting sections of the hybrid armor plating. Impressive progress, Reed said into his comm as Chief Engineer Miller joined him. We're ahead of schedule on this one, Miller replied, her voice filled with pride despite her exhaustion. The material fabrication breakthroughs last month helped. These hulls are now 30% stronger than our initial designs. Reed nodded. And the engines. The modified gravity drives are operational. Still not as advanced as what the Valkyrie have, but these ships will be faster and more maneuverable than anything they've seen from us. Below them, Earth seemed peaceful from this distance. The Valkyrie had established 3 major collection stations across the planet after humanity's apparent surrender. Their ships regularly departed with loads of minerals, water, and biological samples. To all appearances, humans had accepted their role as a conquered species. The reality was far different. In a secret facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Nia Thomas worked with a team of scientists studying captured Valkyrie technology. They had managed to secure components from accidents at collection sites, incidents carefully orchestrated to look like human error. Look at this, Thomas said, pointing to energy patterns displayed on her screen. Their shield harmonics follow a predictable oscillation pattern. Her colleague, Dr. Patel, leaned closer. You think we can exploit that? I'm certain of it, Thomas replied. If we time our weapons fire to match these frequency gaps, we can penetrate their shields with significantly less energy expenditure. While scientists made breakthroughs, Earth's best pilots trained in virtual reality chambers that perfectly simulated the new ship's controls. The Valkyrie had never seen humans in combat, never witnessed the quick thinking and adaptability that had defined Earth's military history. Director Wells supervised the operation from the Central Command facility hidden beneath Greenland's ice sheets. He received daily reports from all project sites, watching as humanity's secret Armada grew from theoretical designs to reality. Latest intelligence update, sir, his assistant said, handing him a tablet. Wells reviewed the information with a frown. The Valkyrie are starting to expand their presence. New collection sites planned for South America and Central Africa. The local resistance cells are ready, the assistant replied. They'll allow the Valkyrie to establish the sites, but the equipment will experience technical difficulties. Wells nodded. And our production numbers. 57 combat-ready vessels completed. Another 35 in final assembly. Weapon production is exceeding targets. The resistance movement grew stronger each day. On the surface, humans appeared to comply with Valkyrie demands. Workers at collection sites moved slowly, reinforcing the aliens' belief in human weakness and inefficiency. Behind the scenes, information flowed to the resistance through encrypted channels. People memorized evacuation routes and emergency procedures. Children practiced drills disguised as games. Admiral Drek, overseeing the Earth operation from his flagship in orbit, grew increasingly comfortable with the situation. He sent regular reports to the Confederacy Council praising the efficient subjugation of the planet. The humans have accepted their place with minimal resistance, he reported. As expected, their physical and technological inferiority made prolonged resistance impossible. I recommend accelerating the resource extraction timeline. In a mountainside training facility, Commander Reed watched as pilots ran combat drills in simulator pods. These men and women had trained 18 hours a day for months, mastering every aspect of the new vessels. "They're ready," said Training Director Captain Lopes, standing beside him. "Their performance metrics exceed all expectations." Reed watched as the lead pilot, Alex Mercer, executed a perfect attack run against a simulated Valkyrie cruiser. "How much longer?" Lopes asked quietly. Reed checked his secure communicator, noting the latest intelligence update from Thomas's team. "The Valkyrie are planning to bring in a major harvesting fleet next month," he replied. "Director Wells believes that will be our moment." Lopes nodded. The quiet before the storm. Reed's eyes hardened as he watched his pilots train. "They mocked our strength. Soon they'll learn what humanity is truly capable of when pushed too far." Above them all, in the darkness of space, Earth's secret fleet waited for the signal to emerge from hiding. The Valkyrie harvesting fleet arrived with arrogant confidence. 7 massive ships entered Earth's orbit, positioning themselves above key resource-rich regions. Their designs were distinctly different from the battlecruisers, wider, with enormous storage bays and collection equipment extending from their hulls like metallic tentacles. From his command post on the lead harvester, Commander Torque surveyed the blue planet below with satisfaction. The operation was proceeding according to schedule, and the human resistance had been minimal, just as Admiral Drek had promised. "Begin primary extraction sequence," Torque ordered. "I want the first cargo holds filled by rotation's end." "Yes, Commander," his subordinate replied. "Collection teams report ready status at all surface points." Deep in Earth's command center, Director Wells received the alert. The moment they had been preparing for had arrived. He took a deep breath before activating the secure communication link. "Operation Thunderbolt is authorized," he said simply. "May Earth's strength guide you." In the hidden shipyard orbiting behind Jupiter's moon Callisto, Captain Alex Mercer received the coded message. Adrenaline rushed through his body as he strapped into the command chair of the Defiance. Around him, his crew performed final checks with the calm efficiency born from endless drills. "All systems green," reported his second-in-command, Lieutenant Parker. "Strike team reports ready." Mercer activated the ship-wide comm. "This is your captain speaking. The moment we've trained for has arrived. Today, we show the Valkyrie that humanity will not go quietly into subjugation. Today, we strike back." The hidden bay doors opened, and 5 sleek warships emerged from their concealment. Their hulls gleamed with a strange bluish-black material, a hybrid of human manufacturing and alien technology. Unlike the bulky Valkyrie vessels, these ships were smaller, faster, designed for hit-and-run tactics that played to human strengths. "Attack Formation Delta," Mercer ordered. "Activate stealth systems." The 5 ships accelerated toward Earth, their advanced cloaking technology making them nearly invisible to standard detection systems. On the lid Valkyrie harvester, a junior sensor operator frowned at his console. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations at coordinates 227 Mark IV. Torque glanced at the reading with mild interest. "Probably atmospheric interference." "Continue with." The ship rocked violently as the first salvo from the human fleet struck its port side. Alarms blared across the bridge. "We're under attack." The weapons officer shouted, scrambling to activate defensive systems. "Multiple vessels. Configuration unknown." Outside, the Defiance led the charge, its targeting systems locked onto the weakness Nia Thomas had discovered. Precise weapon bursts hit the Valkyrie shields at their harmonic frequency gaps, penetrating with devastating efficiency. Direct hit on Harvester 1, Parker reported. Their port collection array is disabled. Mercer nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Strike Team 2, engage Harvester 3. Strike Team 3, take out their communication relay. The human ships moved with surprising speed and agility, executing complex maneuvers that confused Valkyrie targeting systems. Their smaller size made them difficult targets, while their hybrid weapons delivered precise, devastating blows. Commander Torque stared in disbelief as two of his harvesters erupted in flames. "Impossible," he muttered. "These can't be human vessels." He ordered his remaining ships to form a defensive position, but the human fleet was already executing their next maneuver, splitting into paired attack groups that struck from multiple vectors simultaneously. "Sir, Harvester 5 has lost power," his tactical officer reported. Harvesters 2 and 4 reporting critical damage to their engine cores. On the Defiance, Mercer received the damage reports with grim satisfaction. "Target their command ship. All weapons, focus barrage." The 5 human vessels converged on Torque's Harvester, their weapons systems firing in perfect synchronization. The Valkyrie shields flickered and failed under the precisely timed assault. "Command ship shields down," Parker announced. "They're attempting emergency power reroute." Mercer leaned forward. "Send the message." On the damaged Valkyrie command ship, a transmission cut through their emergency communications. "Commander Torque," Mercer's voice rang clear across the bridge. "This is Captain Alexander Mercer of the Earth Defense Force. Consider this a demonstration of human capabilities. Your assessment of our species was incomplete. We suggest you depart immediately." To emphasize the point, the Defiance fired a precision shot that severed the Harvester's main power coupling without destroying the vessel. Torque looked at his devastated fleet, 4 ships destroyed or crippled, and his own command vessel barely operational. With reluctance born of disbelief, he gave the order. "Initiate emergency withdrawal. All surviving vessels, retreat to Rally Point Omega." As the damaged Valkyrie ships limped away from Earth, cheers erupted throughout the human fleet. "They're running," Parker said, barely containing his excitement. Mercer's expression remained serious. "This was just the opening move," he replied. "They'll be back, and in greater numbers. Signal Earth Command. Phase 1 complete." Across the planet, news of the victory spread like wildfire, igniting hope in a population that had been forced to bow their heads for too long. Humanity had struck its first blow. Admiral Drek's rage echoed through the command center of his flagship, the Dominant Will. The massive vessel, nearly twice the size of any in the defeated harvesting fleet, led a formation of 30 warships toward Earth. "Impossible," he roared, smashing his armored fist against the tactical display. "Commander Torque claims the humans use technology beyond their capabilities. How could they hide such development?" His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Vex, stood at attention. "The Intelligence Division suggests they may have received outside help, perhaps from Confederacy rivals." Drek's eyes narrowed. "No matter. We will crush this pathetic rebellion and find the source of their technology. Prepare the invasion force." The Valkyrie fleet arrived in Earth's orbit with overwhelming force. Unlike the previous methodical approach, this time they came with a single purpose: punishment. "Begin orbital bombardment," Drek ordered coldly. "Target their military installations first, then infrastructure." Energy weapons rained destruction upon Earth's surface. Military bases, airfields, and naval ports erupted in flames. The attacks quickly expanded to power plants, transportation hubs, and communication centers. At Earth Defense Headquarters, Director Wells watched grimly as damage reports flooded in. Commander Reed stood beside him, face tense but determined. "Civilian casualties?" Wells asked. "Minimal so far," Reed replied. "The evacuation protocols worked. Most population centers were cleared before the bombardment began." Wells nodded. "And our primary facilities?" "Untouched. The decoy sites are taking the hits exactly as planned." For months, Humanity had constructed elaborate fake military installations, while real operations remained hidden underground or off-planet. The Valkyrie were destroying empty buildings and obsolete equipment, believing they were crippling Earth's defenses. After the orbital assault, Valkyrie dropships descended to key locations. Armored troops marched through the streets of major cities, expecting to find a broken, terrified population. Instead, they encountered eerie emptiness, and then the resistance struck. In downtown Toronto, a Valkyrie patrol moved cautiously through abandoned streets. Their commander, Lieutenant Grech, signaled his squad to halt. "Life signs detected in that structure," he said, pointing to a seemingly abandoned office building. As they approached, the street erupted. Hidden explosives detonated beneath their feet, while precision fire from concealed positions took down 3 soldiers before they could react. The remaining Valkyrie returned fire, but their attackers had already melted away into the urban landscape. Similar scenarios played out across the globe. The Valkyrie, accustomed to direct confrontation and overwhelming force, found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to stand and fight, an enemy that struck and disappeared, leaving traps and ambushes in their wake. "These humans fight like vermin," Grech reported to his superiors after another failed sweep. "They lack the honor to face us directly." What the Valkyrie saw as cowardice was in fact a carefully orchestrated strategy. Commander Reed had studied historical guerrilla warfare, adapting centuries-old human tactics to modern combat. Small resistance cells operated independently, communicating through encrypted channels the Valkyrie couldn't detect. Meanwhile, Director Wells activated sleeper agents throughout Valkyrie-held territories. Apparently cooperative humans working as laborers or translators gathered critical intelligence, sabotaged equipment, and fed false information back to Valkyrie Command. From his orbiting flagship, Admiral Grech grew increasingly frustrated. How can these physically inferior beings cause so much trouble? He demanded. "Double the ground forces. I want this resistance crushed." More Valkyrie troops poured onto Earth's surface. They established fortified command posts in major cities, implementing brutal measures against any suspected resistance members. Yet for every cell they discovered and eliminated, 3 more seemed to appear. The Valkyrie soon discovered another unexpected challenge: human endurance. Their own warriors were powerful but required regular rest cycles. Humans, though physically weaker, could operate on minimal sleep for days, rotating resistance fighters to maintain constant pressure on the invaders. In a secret meeting beneath the ruins of Berlin, Commander Reed briefed resistance leaders via holographic projection. "The Valkyrie are committing more forces to the ground war," he explained. "Every soldier they deploy planetside is one less defending their fleet." Director Wells reports they've drawn nearly 40% of their space forces into ground operations. A resistance leader from Brazil nodded. "Their frustration makes them predictable. They keep seeking decisive battles we refuse to give them." Reed allowed himself a small smile. "Exactly. Admiral Volkov reports the main fleet is almost ready. We just need to keep the Valkyrie distracted for 3 more days." As the meeting concluded, emergency alerts flashed across Reed's communication device. The Valkyrie had discovered one of their secondary bases in the Ural Mountains. "All units, execute Contingency Plan Delta," Reed ordered. "Evacuate all personnel and activate the self-destruct sequence." The Valkyrie would find nothing but ruins, and no evidence of Earth's true strength still gathering in the darkness of space. In his orbiting flagship, Admiral Grech stared at Earth with growing unease. These humans were proving far more resilient than any species the Confederacy had previously subjugated. For the first time, a troubling thought entered his mind. What if we've underestimated them? Admiral Elena Volkov stood on the bridge of the Retribution, Earth's largest warship, hidden in the shadow of Luna's far side. Around her, crew members worked with focused determination, running final systems checks and battle preparations. "Status report," Volkov said, her voice calm despite the weight of humanity's future resting on her shoulders. All ships report ready, Admiral, replied her executive officer. Commander Taylor, the fleet is in position. Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. Volkov nodded. And the Valkyrie fleet? Exactly as planned. Nearly half their vessels have deployed ground forces. Their orbital formation has significant gaps in their defensive screen. On the main view screen, tactical displays showed the positions of over 300 Earth vessels, cruisers, destroyers, and fighter squadrons, all waiting for the signal to reveal themselves. This was humanity's true strength, built in secret over months of apparent subjugation. Volkov opened a secure channel. All ships, this is Admiral Volkov. The moment has come to show the Valkyrie the true strength of Earth. Remember your training. Remember what we fight for. Execute Operation Thunderstrike on my mark. She paused, looking at the image of Earth partially covered by Valkyrie ships. Mark. Across the lunar surface, hidden bay doors slid open. From craters and underground facilities, Earth's Armada emerged. The ships moved in perfect formation, their engines glowing with blue-white energy. Simultaneously, vessels hidden in Mars orbit and among the asteroid belt activated their drives, converging on Earth in a coordinated assault. On the dominant will, a sensor operator's eyes widened in shock. Admiral Drek. Multiple contacts appearing behind the moon. Hundreds of vessels, configuration unknown. Drek rushed to the tactical display. Impossible, he whispered as the scope of the human fleet became clear. Battle stations. All ships, defensive formation Alpha. But the Valkyrie were caught unprepared. With nearly half their combat ships deployed to ground operations, their orbital defense had critical weaknesses. The human fleet struck with devastating precision. Fighter squadrons targeted Valkyrie communication arrays, severing coordination between their vessels. Cruisers focused fire on key command ships, using the shield harmonic vulnerability Nia Thomas had discovered. Target locked on the Valkyrie flagship, reported the Retribution's weapons officer. Firing solution ready. Fire, Volkov ordered. The Retribution's main cannons released brilliant beams of energy that struck the dominant will precisely where its shields were weakest. The massive Valkyrie vessel shuddered under the impact. Direct hit, the tactical officer announced. Their port shield generators are down. Volkov nodded. All battle groups. Execute attack pattern Omega. Focus fire on designated targets. The human fleet moved with surprising flexibility, executing complex maneuvers that confused Valkyrie targeting systems. Each ship group functioned independently yet in perfect coordination with the larger strategy, a reflection of humanity's greatest strength. Adaptive teamwork. From his damaged flagship, Drek watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. Human vessels, though smaller than their Valkyrie counterparts, demonstrated superior maneuverability and tactical coordination. How is this possible? He demanded. These are not the same vessels that attacked our harvesters. His tactical officer's reply was interrupted by another impact that rocked the ship. Admiral, we've lost engines 3 and 4. Weapons control is failing. Drek made a decision. Order all ships to regroup at coordinates 227 Mark 8. We need to consolidate our forces. But the human fleet anticipated this move. As the Valkyrie vessels attempted to regroup, they found Earth ships already waiting at their rally point. The Battle of Lunar Orbit, as it would later be known, became the turning point in humanity's fight for freedom. Valkyrie ships, caught between multiple attack groups, found themselves unable to establish a cohesive defense. On the Retribution, Admiral Volkov received damage reports with grim satisfaction. Status of the Valkyrie flagship. Severely damaged, Commander Taylor replied. They're attempting to withdraw. Disable their engines but leave them functional, Volkov ordered. I want Drek to witness what happens next. The Retribution fired precision shots that left the dominant will adrift but operational. From its bridge, Admiral Drek watched helplessly as his fleet was systematically destroyed or forced to retreat. "Send emergency transmission to Confederate High Command," he ordered, his voice hoarse. "Request immediate reinforcements. All available battle groups." The message sent, Drek turned to the view screen where a human vessel, the Retribution, now approached his crippled flagship. "Open a channel," he demanded of his communications officer. Admiral Volkov's face appeared on screen, her expression calm and resolute. "Admiral Drek," she said simply, "it seems you misjudged humanity's strength." Drek's eyes narrowed. "This battle is not over. The full might of the Confederacy will descend upon your world. You have merely awakened a sleeping giant." Volkov allowed herself a small smile. "No, Admiral. You awakened the sleeping giant when you threatened Earth. And now you will witness its full awakening." As if on cue, new signals appeared on tactical displays. Hundreds more human vessels emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. Earth's reserve fleets had arrived, and the true scale of humanity's armada was finally revealed. "Impossible," Drek whispered, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. The massive Valkyrie Confederate flagship, Sovereign Might, emerged from the wormhole with an escort of over 500 warships. It dwarfed even Admiral Drek's vessel, its hull adorned with symbols of power and conquest from 1,000 worlds. On its command deck stood Supreme Commander Grawl, the highest military authority in the Confederacy. His imposing figure moved toward the view screen, where the tactical display showed the devastation of Drek's fleet. "Show me the human forces," he ordered. The display shifted, revealing the full extent of Earth's armada. Nearly 1,000 vessels of various sizes and configurations, some emerging from Mars' orbit, others from Jupiter's moons, still more appearing from hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt. Sub-Commander Visk approached cautiously. "Supreme Commander, we've received Admiral Drek's full report. The humans apparently reverse-engineered technology from an ancient outpost found on their neighboring planet decades ago. They built this fleet in secret while pretending to submit to our rule." Graal's expression remained impassive. "An impressive deception. Perhaps we underestimated these creatures. They are physically inferior," Visk insisted, "but they appear to compensate with unexpected adaptability and cunning. Qualities not to be dismissed," Graal replied. "Open a channel to their command vessel." Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Volkov received notification of the incoming transmission. "It's their Supreme Commander," Communications Officer Wright reported. Volkov straightened her uniform. On screen, the imposing figure of Commander Graal appeared. "I am Supreme Commander Graal of the Valkyrie Confederacy. You have inflicted significant damage on our forces. This is unexpected." "Supreme Commander," Volkov replied evenly. "I am Admiral Elena Volkov of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your forces attacked our world unprovoked. We responded accordingly." Graal studied her for a moment. "Your species showed remarkable foresight and tactical intelligence. The Confederacy respects strength. Perhaps we should discuss terms." "We're beyond discussion," Volkov stated firmly. "Your remaining forces in our system will withdraw immediately. Admiral Drek will be returned to you as a gesture of good faith. After that, we can negotiate a more permanent arrangement." The Supreme Commander's eyes narrowed slightly. "You presume to dictate terms to the Confederacy." "Look at your tactical display, Commander," Volkov replied calmly. "Then look at ours." She nodded to Wright, who transmitted the Earth fleet's battle positions. The human vessels had already begun moving into strategic formations around the newly arrived Confederate fleet. Before Graal could respond, Director Wells joined the transmission from Earth Command. "Supreme Commander, we propose a demonstration of our respective capabilities. The asteroid belt offers neutral territory for a controlled engagement. 100 of your best ships against 100 of ours. The outcome will determine our future relationship." Graal's expression showed a mixture of surprise and reluctant respect. After conferring with his commanders off-screen, he nodded. "Agreed. Prepare your forces." The Battle of the Asteroid Belt became legendary in both human and Valkyrie history. For 6 hours, ships maneuvered through the rocky debris, employing every tactical advantage. The Valkyrie brought overwhelming firepower and physical resilience. The humans countered with unpredictable maneuvers and adaptive strategies. Commander Reed, leading a squadron of fast attack vessels, demonstrated humanity's unique approach to combat. When 3 Valkyrie cruisers cornered his ships against a large asteroid cluster, Reed didn't retreat or attempt to break through their superior firepower. Instead, his squadron split into pairs that used the asteroids themselves as weapons, maneuvering in ways the Valkyrie pilots couldn't predict, causing the massive rocks to collide with enemy vessels, while the nimble Earth ships slipped through gaps no Valkyrie would attempt. From his command vessel, Supreme Commander Grawl watched his ships being systematically outmaneuvered and defeated. Though physically stronger, his forces couldn't match the humans' innovative tactics and seamless coordination. Enough, he finally declared, ordering his remaining ships to stand down. 3 days later, representatives from Earth and the Confederacy met aboard a neutral vessel in Earth orbit. Commander Reed and Science Officer Thomas joined Director Wells and Admiral Volkov at the negotiation table. Across from them sat Supreme Commander Grawl and his advisors. The Confederacy acknowledges humanity as equals, Grawl stated formally, his words translated for the historical record. Your species has demonstrated strength beyond physical measure, adaptability, ingenuity, and remarkable determination. Director Wells nodded. Earth seeks peaceful relations, not domination. We propose a new model of galactic cooperation. The resulting Galactic Concord Treaty established Earth as a sovereign power with protected status in the Confederacy. Humanity would share some of its unique technological innovations while maintaining independence. In return, the Confederacy would open its trade networks and knowledge bases to Earth. As the ceremony concluded, Commander Reed approached Science Officer Thomas, who stood gazing at the view of Earth from the observation deck. They came expecting to find weakness, Thomas said quietly. Instead, they found our greatest strength. Reed nodded, not in our muscles or weapons, but in our ability to adapt, to work together, to think beyond conventional boundaries. Below them, Earth rotated peacefully, no longer under threat. The planet that had seemed so vulnerable had proven that true strength came in many forms, and humanity's unique qualities had earned them not just survival, but respect among the stars. They mocked our strength, Reed said, watching as the Valkyrie ships prepared to depart. Now they'll never underestimate us again. Thomas smiled. Perhaps that's humanity's greatest victory, teaching the galaxy that strength isn't measured by physical power alone. As Earth's Armada took up protective positions around their homeworld, the new era of galactic relations began, one where humanity's place was earned not through conquest, but through the very adaptability that had defined their species since its earliest days.